Well, hello, my lovely witches. Today I have another flip through for you. This time the flip through of Book of Shadows 17, which was the one created in this mixed media journal from Dina Wakely. Now, I mentioned on my Instagram how I was both excited and nervous to work in this book. One of the main reasons being when I first got it, it was already like really full. Something that surprised me about something that's supposed to be a mixed media journal, art journal, was that they didn't allow room for expansion in the book, because most mixed media artists that I know use collage of some sort. And we all know that between layers of paint and glue and then collage on top of that, books end up fat, even when you're not adding crazy shit like I did. So I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with this book, which we'll get to as we go through it. I think, as you can see on the front, I painted with some paint over the cover, which was just a plain blue, and I added a ribbon tie closure to try and keep it a bit more closed. And here we go. This is the little collage that I did in the front, which I've said before, but if you're new here, you may not be aware that I actually really enjoy adding to my frontispiece collage as I work through the book with little pieces. The first thing I did when I got this book was to sew some trim and lace and what have you down the edges of all of the pages that were fabric. So this book is a combination of very, very sturdy mixed media paper and denim and burlap as pages. So that was a real challenge. Having never worked on fabric pages before in any capacity, whether it be as you know, an art piece or in my Book of Shadows. So that was a challenge, and it was a really fun challenge because it did make me think outside the square for how I approached my pieces, my artworks, my pages in this book. This was a collage for Sagittarius season, all about the various things that I was working with Sagittarius wise. And this was, I don't know who the original quote is attributed to, be the dragon, slay the princess, but I saw it first on Instagram via an amazing collage artist called Mental Paint. Definitely check her work out if you're interested in collage particularly, or she also paints. She's really creative, amazing artist. And I saw the quote first on her, on a piece she did, and I loved it. And I had this piece was cut from a children's picture book of a castle, and I just sort of ran with it castle wise and dragon wise, and did this spread about essentially embracing the inner monster, embracing your power, not being the pathetic little princess waiting in the tower to be rescued, which is just so not me. I never really associated or resonated with the princesses in fairy tales. I really didn't. As you know, I tended to identify with the witches in the tales. Usually they're evil, but they weren't always. Anyway, so this was a bit of fun. These little dragons came from a game I got at the op shop. It wasn't complete, so it couldn't really be used as a game. but a board game, but I used a lot of the elements, or have been using a lot of the elements in mixed media work, and this was an opportunity to use some of the little figures from it. And this was me petitioning the fae in my garden to assist with healing my lemon tree, which has not been very well for quite some time. Godric's come to talk to us as well. Hello, Godric. You don't have to make commentary, honestly. No, you also don't need to be on my lap. Excuse me. Okay, so this was a petition to the fae to assist with my lemon tree, and I made a little charm bag, and it's hanging in the tree at the moment. And early days, but I think maybe the tree is looking a bit better. It's got some new growth on it. This was my comfy, cozy, witchy sort of gratitude in December. And this was my new moon intentions for the full moon in Gemini. And they're just tucked under that flap. This next page was so much fun. I loved creating this. I wanted to do a lot more sewing on the fabric pages in this book, but I hadn't appreciated until I attempted this one how freaking hard it is to sew in a book. As soon as you get, about halfway across, it's really awkward. And that did my head in, because this thing took about I reckon about 7 or 8 hours to complete, and it does not look like it took 7, 8 or 8 hours to create. So as fun as it was to, do some sewing, I did some little patchwork and added feathers and embroidery and some of my buttons from my button collection and bells, because I love adding bells to my books. So as fun as it was, I was just like, this is just ridiculous. It was too difficult, and I got really disheartened about working on the fabric pages in this way, which was something that I was disappointed, because I really wanted to sort of expand how I did things, because I had the opportunity of these fabric pages, and I thought, maybe if I really enjoy working on them, it might be something I add to my junk journals, because it's very easy to slip a piece of fabric in there as well as your papers. So that was disappointing and frustrating, but at least I gave it a go. And this is a charm for self-love and for harmony. This was a collage about freedom. This was my lither spread for this just gone solstice. And there's some, personal stuff underneath that little flap there. So it was pretty simple. I think this must be the center of the first signature. So you can see that the pages are really thick, which is, great for mixed media, but it's not a huge book. There's not a lot of pages in it. Oh, this spread. I don't know about you, but there is something that I find, glue everywhere here. Something I find, I don't know, I'm just really attracted to the whole murder board thing. I love crime fiction. I love true crime. And there's something about, I don't know whether it's the maximalist in me or what, but you're watching a show and they have the murder board with the red string, and whether it's the detectives who are trying to detect things, or whether it's the crazy, insane killer who's, I don't know, doing his crazy collage. It just really speaks to me somehow, and I wanted to give it a go as a spread in my Book of Shadows. Because I have no reason to have a murder board in my house, because I'm not a detective, nor am I a crazy serial killer. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to create a sort of a murder board that is about my journey over the last 30 years with witchcraft. So there's some influences, there's some people, some names, some books, and just bits and pieces. It means a lot to me. It won't necessarily mean a lot to you, but I have to say this was so much fun. So there you go. It's a murder board spread. If this is something that you resonate with and you decide you want to do it, I would love to see what you do. If you just think I'm bonkers, which, I mean, we've already established I'm bonkers, I think, by now, and you just go, well, what the fuck? That's okay. You do you, boo, and I'll do me. Oh, this was a fun spread as well. This is a well-being spread that I got a bit interactive with it. It was, yeah, I was feeling interactive in my spreads. So this was a well-being oil that I created. And then we had some bits and pieces to do for well-being behind this little cloud. And we have, this is a little sigil card for Be Well. It's a very simple sigil. Tucked into that pocket behind this little cloud. And then behind this little cloud, I have a little well-being zine. Remember to rest. Eat bitter greens. Make magic. Drink water. Snuggle with cats. Do what makes you happy. So that was also quite fun to create a zine. So that was my little well-being spread. And that was something that I found that because these pages are so sturdy, you can have some really chunky stuff going on them. So that was fun. One thing I did find with this book, though, was that this is probably the most visually art journaly of all my books of shadows, because the paper felt like it had to be mixed media stuff on it. I couldn't just write down some feelings or thoughts or write down some spells or, you know, whatever it might be. Now, I know that I get pretty creative in my book of shadows anyway, but one of the less enjoyable parts of working this book was that I felt that it was harder to not be that arty. Like it was, I felt pressure to make this book all about the art and less about sometimes just my thoughts. You know, I don't do a lot of word journaling. You may have noticed I'm not really a wordy witch. I'm an art witch. So it tends to focus pretty heavily on the visual anyway. But I still, you know, have thoughts and feelings, or I still might want to write down a recipe without making it into an elaborate spread. So there's a lot more of that elaborate art than my standard book of shadows. So that's something that I missed about working in my favorite junk journal. This was about the four queens of the tarot. So this is the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, and Queen of Wands. This was a peace potion, which is actually a tea that I drink, and I love it, and it's blue. New moon in Capricorn. That was my new moon intentions on this little card in here. This was an intuition oil that I was making. This is something you might have already seen on my Instagram. I made keys to unlock, and I made all these little envelopes with these stickers to put each key into. These are not easy to grab out, but we'll show you. That's the key to power. This one is the key to success. This one, the key to happiness. And then we have this little one, the key to health. These are all made on collage and painted playing cards. Key to magic. Get in there. Key to peace. And these are really great little pieces that can sit on my altar as well to bring those energies in, or by my bed, or in the bathroom, or my bathroom mirror. Key to abundance. And finally, the key to love. This was some bits and pieces from an advent calendar that I purchased from a creator called Herbal Hirith. I think I've spoken about her before on the channel because I have purchased things from her before, and this was a lovely little treat for myself. Oh, I bought some stuff from Sarah Jane Art Magic, who has an Etsy shop, but she also has a channel here on YouTube, and she's also over on Instagram. And with the stickers that I ordered, she sent me these cute little zines. She's really big on zines. You see her do a lot with zines, and these were so cute. I was like, well, I have to stick them in my book. So it's cute. So there they are. This was some stuff from Molly Roberts via a zine that she had on her website, I think. This is all sorts of things. This is an art spell in and of itself. It's also a prosperity kitchen witch spell, and it's a really yummy breakfast. So it's a bit of everything. And it also includes my prosperity sigil print there. So it's very, very simple but very delicious breakfast. Toast made with a really seedy wholemeal bread, some nut butter of your choice. I like almond or cashew, a poached or fried egg, and some greens, rocket or spinach or whatever you have. Dandelion greens are really nice on this. You know, I'm always going on about eating bitter greens. Eat more bitter greens. Dandelion is one of my favorites, and it's abundant. It's growing everywhere in my lawn, and it's tasty. So that's why that's in there, so that I can come back to that recipe. I'm going to have to write it into my little Kitchen Witch recipe book as well, although it's not hard to remember what it is. Okay, this was making the most of summer. When I saw this page in an old magazine, I was like, oh yeah, because we've established I don't like summer. It's currently 38 degrees centigrade outside. It's bitching. I hate it. So this was just a few little notes trying desperately to find things about summer that I like. And they are few and far between, but definitely the summer vegetables, especially basil and tomatoes. Oh my God. That gets me. Gin and tonic is nicer on a warmer day. I'll drink it any time of year, but you know. Sitting in the shade of my apple tree is something I quite enjoy, so long as it's not too hot. I wouldn't be doing that today. Hopefully we'll have a cool change later in the week, and I might get a nice day to do that. And the extra daylight's nice, and our holiday period for Christmas, New Year, which is sort of when most businesses shut down, is obviously Southern Hemisphere summer. It coincides with the kids' summer holidays from school. So summer holidays are nice. They're over now. I'm back at work. But that's all right. It was nice to have a break. And this was one of my other sewing efforts in this book. I don't think there are too many more. I think that was just those two, of a little green man made from felt and some embroidery and some more buttons. Green man. This was just some appreciation of some family and friends gifts for summer solstice / Christmas, depending on their own, you know, tendencies. Some of my friends and family are pagan and some are not. That's okay. But there was just, these were just some really special messages. This one doesn't need to be talked about. And this was some Molly Roberts grimoire lists, another bookmark in there to mark that page. This was a quote from Scott Cunningham about drawing upon natural energies to create magic and create change. So that's what that was all about there. This is my word for 2023, nurture. And I chose some images of things that I find are good to nurture me, whether physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. So that's what that spread's all about, my word of the year. I will be doing further work on my word of the year for over the next 12 months in an art magic-y sort of way. You might have already seen a little altar piece that I created, a little sort of assemblage piece that I created using my word of the year. I usually do a prayer flag for my word of the year. I haven't done that yet, but I think I probably still will. And I also saw a great idea. I was trying to remember who it was on Instagram. No, look, I don't want to say their name in case it's not that person. So I won't say anything, but there's some other ideas that I've seen on Instagram that have sparked some curiosity and some ideas in my brain. So if I can end up making them, I will show you and properly credit the creator of the original. This, see, I always relate to the witch. This is a bit of a self-portrait. After when I grew up in a family who headed up by a very strong matriarch in my mother, who was a teacher. Both my parents were teachers, but she was an early childhood educator. And she was very anti-Disney. Didn't like the messages that were contained in a lot of the movies, particularly for girls. She was just very anti, not a fan. So I didn't grow up watching really any Disney. And as a consequence, I'm not a massive Disney fan as an adult. And although I'm obviously very familiar with the Little Mermaid tale being Hans Christian Andersen, I had never seen the film, Little Mermaid. But I had been reading a novel called Sea Witch. Again, I can't remember the author, but it's essentially a sort of a take on Ursula and how she came to be who she is in particularly the Disney film. And I, after reading this book and enjoying the book very much, decided I might actually watch the film. You know, I've got Disney Plus because it's got Star Wars on it and I love Star Wars. So I decided to check it out. And I have to admit, Ariel annoyed the crap out of me. Sorry to all of those. I've probably just lost 100 viewers now. And I apologize if this is your favorite film, if it brings up lots of strong childhood memories, if you love the story. No shade, because we all have those childhood stories that mean a lot to us. And I'm, as I said, just not a massive fan of Disney, and I did not particularly like the character of Ariel. But I tell you, I fucking loved the character of Ursula. She's powerful, she's fat, and she fucking owns it, and she's wonderful, and I love her. And I decided to do a bit of a self-portrait of me as Ursula. So here I am. And that was fun. It was really fun. So there you go. That was a very long-winded explanation of this page. I went on a ramble. Oh dear. Here we have a courage oil I created and a sun goddess incense that I used over the, it wasn't quite the solstice period, but, you know, within that sort of time frame, just honouring, as I said, the sun, trying to connect again with the sun and with summer. I always struggle this time of year, but I try really hard to work with the season that I'm in rather than continually just wishing it was winter. I try. I don't always succeed, but I try. So there I was with my sun goddess incense. This was a spread about achieving your goals. This was for me to work through and achieve some goals for the coming 12 months. I don't really do New Year's resolutions, and I don't set very hardcore specific goals, and I particularly don't set them at the beginning of a calendar year. I tend to set those goals back in sort of, well, the Yule / Imbolc time. But this was a sort of a reaffirmation of some of the goals that I set then, and working through achieving those. So that's what that spread was about. And here we have another sort of sea witchy, mermaidy page, which, to be fair, this was just because it was fun. There's no real magical meaning behind that page. It was just, yep, mermaid, need to do mermaid stuff, made a mermaid. You know, because sometimes you need to do that. And that was it. So that is book number 17. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my little ramble. I know some of you have said you do enjoy my rambles, which is great. Anyone that doesn't can just stop watching the video. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. I love you all. I'm so glad that you enjoy my videos and you get inspired and all of that sort of stuff. You know, I always want to hear from you. Talk to me down in the comments. Come over to Instagram and talk to me over there. You can send me a DM. Love hearing what you're up to. Stay witchy. Stay art magic-y. Get into your books. Get into your paints or collage or whatever it is you do. And I will see you in the next video.